ആണ് വേണ്ടേ. അപ്പോൾ ഈ പറയുന്ന ലേഡി പറയും എനിക്ക് ചോക്ലേറ്റ് ആണ് വേണ്ടേന്ന് പറയും. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ പോലെയാണ് ഇപ്പൊ നിങ്ങൾ എന്നോട് ഇപ്പൊ വിളിച്ചിരുത്തിയിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഞാൻ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചോക്ലേറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് ഇത് ടാക്സ് ഇല്ലാത്ത കാര്യം പറഞ്ഞ് ബലിപ്പിക്കണം. അതാണ്
അങ്ങനല്ല സാറേ. ഇതിനകത്ത് എന്താ വിഷയം? അതെ, ഞാൻ ഇതിന്റെ അകത്ത് വിഷയം എന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാല് ഞങ്ങള് ആസ് ഒരു നമ്മുടെ ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷൻ, ഒരു ഹോസ്പിറ്റൽ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിൽ മാനേജർ ഉണ്ടാവും, ഓഫീസ് നോക്കാൻ ഉണ്ടാവും. ഡെന്റൽ ക്ലിനിക്സിൽ ഞങ്ങൾ തന്നെയാണ് അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേറ്ററും ടാക്സും എല്ലാം. അപ്പൊ ഈ പ്രാക്ടീസിന്റെ ഇടയിലാണ് ഈ സ്ക്വാഡുകാരൊക്കെ കയറി വരിക. സ്ക്വാഡുകാർ വരുമ്പോ ആകെ ഒരു ഞെട്ടലും ഇതുമൊക്കെ. അപ്പൊ എല്ലാരെയും ഒന്ന് ആർമി ചെയ്ത് വിടാം എന്നുള്ളതാണ്
ഞാൻ ഉദ്ദേശിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഡോക്ടർ ദീപു പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ ബേസിക്കലി ഒരു ഹിസ്റ്ററി, ഹൗ ടാക്സേഷൻ വിത്ത് റെസ്പെക്ട് ടു ഡെന്റിസ്റ്റ് ഇവോൾവ്ഡ്. സോ ഇഫ് അറ്റ് ഓൾ ഇറ്റ് ക്യാൻ ബി സെഡ് സോ, ഞാൻ അത് പറയാം. Then the present scenario, that is after the introduction of GST, how things are being handled and how the steps may be taken by the department. So adalla njan paranju thannitte, then if you have any queries you can put it across to me. Whatever possible from my side I can try to clarify.
മിക്കവാറും എല്ലാവർക്കും ഉള്ള ചോദ്യം ഈ 20 ലക്ഷം രൂപയുടെ ആ ഒരു ബാരിയർ എങ്ങനെയാണ്, എന്താണ്?
Where my answer would be, first of all, I always maintain, I have given in my opinion also, that you are not supposed to take out a registration. So it is only in a situation where you are supposed to take out a registration the question of that 20 lakh arises. Suppose you are not liable, then why do you take out registration?
ഇപ്പം കഴിഞ്ഞ ആഴ്ച സ്ഥലത്തിന്റെ പേര് കഴക്കൂട്ടം ടെക്നോ പാർക്ക് ഏരിയയില് ഒരു ഹൈ പ്രൊഫൈൽ ക്ലിനിക്കില് ഒരു ടീം ചെന്നിട്ട് ആ ടീം ആദ്യം ഡോക്ടറിനോട് എല്ലാ കാര്യങ്ങളും ചോദിച്ചപ്പോൾ ഡോക്ടർ പറഞ്ഞു ഇതൊന്നുമില്ല, അങ്ങനെയൊന്നും ഇല്ല. അപ്പം ഇവരുടെ കറണ്ട് അക്കൗണ്ട് എടുത്തു. കറണ്ട് അക്കൗണ്ടിൽ എങ്ങാണ്ട് 47 ലക്ഷം രൂപയാണ് പോയിരിക്കുന്നത്. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഇവരുടെ ഇലക്ട്രിസിറ്റി ബില്ല് അറൌണ്ട് 60,000 ആണ് പെർ മന്ത്. അതെല്ലാം എടുത്തു കൊടുത്തു. എന്നിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞു നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇത്രയും ടേൺ ഓവർ ഉണ്ട്, നിങ്ങൾ പേ ചെയ്തേ പറ്റുള്ളൂ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. അപ്പം അത് നോട്ടീസൊക്കെ അപ്പൊ തന്നെ തരാം, ഞങ്ങളിപ്പം എഴുതി തരാം. അപ്പൊ ആ ഡോക്ടർ പറഞ്ഞു എഴുതി തന്നോ, ഞങ്ങൾ എന്താ വേണ്ടത് ചെയ്തോളാം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. ആ ശരി, എന്നാൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് പോസ്റ്റിൽ ഇട്ടേക്കാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അവരെങ്ങനെ?
അത്രേ ഉള്ളൂ. അത് ആ ഒരു ആറ്റിറ്റ്യൂഡാണ്. ബേസിക്കലി അവര് നിങ്ങളെ ആം ടിസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് സാധനം മേടിച്ചെടുക്കാൻ ശ്രമിക്കുകയാണ്. So you should maintain your calmness, and first of all I would say that don't go in a confrontation mode with the department. Try to remain calm and tell the department that we are not liable to take out registration. It is only in a situation where that I am liable to take out registration the question of satisfying a tax arises. That should
One
be
second, sir. President. ഇല്ല കേറി വാ. എന്തേ? ശരി. ഫെസിലിറ്റി ഡീൽ ചെയ്തോളൂ. സാറ് വക്കീല് ഉണ്ട്, എല്ലാവരും ഉണ്ട്. ഞങ്ങളുടെ പ്രസിഡന്റ് ആണ് അദ്ദേഹം കോൾ ചെയ്തത്. അപ്പം അങ്ങനെ ചെയ്യാം. ഹലോ സാറ് സ്റ്റക്കായി. ചെറി എവിടുന്നാ വരുന്നേ? സുശാന്ത്ജി, ഇന്നലത്തെ മീറ്റിംഗ് എങ്ങനെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു? ഗുഡ് ഈവനിങ്.
രാവിലെ ആയല്ലോ.
വക്കീല് ഫൈസൽ ജീനെ ഇന്നലെ കണ്ടില്ലല്ലോ. ആ ഫൈസൽ ജി ആയിരുന്നല്ലേ? ഓക്കെ.
ഇതെന്താ പേരൊന്ന് മാറ്റിക്കൂടെ?
ഇന്നലെ ഭയങ്കര വിറ്റുണ്ടായി. 1+5 എങ്ങാണ്ട് ആരാന്ന് അറിയാഞ്ഞിട്ട്. അപ്പം സുജിത്ത് പറഞ്ഞു അത് റഷീദ് എന്നാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് റഷീദിന്റെ പേരിട്ടു. നോക്കിയപ്പോ
റഷീദ് കേറിയിട്ടൊന്നുമില്ലായിരുന്നു. രസങ്ങളാണ്.
വക്കീല് ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടേ. വേറെ ഒരു ഏതോ ബ്രാഞ്ച് CDH ആയിട്ട് വിളിച്ചിരുന്നല്ലോ, മലനാട്.
മലനാട്. സുശാന്തിനോട് പറയാൻ പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നല്ലോ. സുശാന്ത് വിളിച്ചില്ലേ?
ഹലോ,
സുശാന്തിനെ വിളിച്ചില്ലായിരുന്നോ?
വിളിച്ചിരുന്നോ?
എന്തായിരുന്നു ആക്ടിവിറ്റി? ഫോട്ടോ
അല്ല, ഫോട്ടോ അല്ലല്ലോ.
ഹലോ
സാറേ, ഞങ്ങളുടെ പ്രസിഡന്റ് ആണ് ഡോക്ടർ ജോസഫ് CC.
ഗുഡ് ഈവനിങ് സർ.
ഗുഡ് ഈവനിങ്.
പിന്നെ ഡോക്ടർ അൻവർ അലി ഉണ്ട്. ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഒരു പ്രോജക്റ്റ് ഉണ്ട്, ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ഹെൽപ്പ് ഓഫർ ടു പ്രൊഫഷണൽസ് ഇൻ എമർജൻസി. അതായത് ലീഗൽ പ്രൊഫഷണൽ ഇൻഡെമ്നിറ്റി, പിന്നെ ഞങ്ങളുടെ സോഷ്യൽ സെക്യൂരിറ്റി രണ്ടും കൂടെ ഉള്ള ഒരു പ്രോജക്റ്റിന്റെ ചെയർമാൻ ആണ് ഡോക്ടർ അൻവർ പാലക്കാടാണ്.
ഗുഡ് ഈവനിങ്.
ഗുഡ് ഈവനിങ്. പറയൂ, അപ്പൊ നമുക്ക് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യണോ?
ഇല്ല, ഒരു 5 മിനിറ്റ് ആൾക്കാർ വരുന്നോടെ എടുക്കുന്നുള്ളൂ.
ഓ ഷുവർ.
ഇതിനെ നമ്മൾ യൂട്യൂബിലോട്ട് ലൈവ്
ഇട്ടു.
ആക്ച്വലി സാറ് നമ്മുടെ ഡോക്ടർ മോനിഷിന്റെ അങ്കിളായിട്ട് വരും ഗ്രേറ്റർ കൊച്ചിനിലെ. ഇതൊക്കെ ഞാൻ ലീഗൽ ഒപ്പീനിയൻ ഒക്കെ എടുത്തതിന് ശേഷമാണ് മനസ്സിലായത്.
സാറിന്റെ പ്രാക്ടീസ് ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളാണോ? ടാക്സ്
എന്തൊക്കെ തമാശ പറയാന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ കട്ടിങ്ങും ഷേവിങ്ങും പഠിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്, പക്ഷെ കട്ടിങ് മാത്രമേ ചെയ്യാറുള്ളൂ, ഷേവിങ് ചെയ്യാറില്ല. ടാക്സേഷൻ ഞാൻ വായിച്ചൊന്നും ഉണ്ടായിട്ടല്ല, പക്ഷെ അങ്ങനെ ആയിപ്പോയി, പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് കാര്യമില്ല. ബ്രാൻഡഡ്. ഇപ്പൊ നിങ്ങൾ ഡെന്റിസ്റ്റ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് ബ്രാൻഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നു എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ തന്നെ അങ്ങനെ സെപ്പറേറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് ടാക്സേഷനിലൊരു ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ ജോയിൻ മൈ ഫാദർ who was exclusively handling taxation matters. So that way I also got branded as a tax
practitioner.
But you do take up all other cases, അല്ലേ?
ഞാനതാ മലയാളത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞ ആരും വരാറില്ല, പച്ച മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയുകയാണെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ.
ബ്രാൻഡഡ് ആയിപ്പോയി അല്ലേ ഒരു ടാക്സ് പ്രാക്ടീഷണർ
എന്ന് മാത്രമല്ല, ഞാൻ അതിന്റെ ഒരു പ്ലസ് പോയിന്റ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ബേസിക്കലി എനി അതർ ഫീൽഡ് ഓഫ് ലീഗൽ പ്രൊഫഷൻ എയും ബി ഉണ്ടോ, രണ്ട് സൈഡ് ഉണ്ടാവും. പ്രൈവറ്റ് കേസുകളാണ്. പ്രൈവറ്റ് കേസുകൾ സംബഡി വിൽ ബി എ ലൂസർ, ഏതർ എ സൈഡ് ഓർ ബി സൈഡ്. അപ്പൊ എനിക്ക് ഫീസ് തന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ എയോ ബിയോ എന്നെ പ്രാവും. ബട്ട് വേറെ ടാക്സേഷൻ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ എന്റെ അഭിപ്രായത്തിൽ ആരും പ്രാവാനില്ല. കാരണം ഒരു സൈഡിൽ എല്ലായ്പ്പോഴും സർക്കാരാണ്. സർക്കാരിന് പ്രാവാൻ പറ്റില്ല. പിന്നെ കക്ഷികൾ നിങ്ങളെ പോലുള്ള ആൾക്കാർ ആസ് ലോങ് ആസ് ഐ ആം ഏബിൾ ടു ഡെലിവർ പ്രാക്കില്ല.
വെരി സിംപ്ലി
അല്ല, ജീവിതം തന്നെ അതല്ലേ. വെറുതെ നമ്മൾ ഈ ടെൻഷൻ അടിച്ചിരുന്നത് എന്താ കാര്യം? എനിക്ക് കഷണ്ടി വന്നത് ടെൻഷൻ അടിച്ചിട്ടല്ല, അത് ഹെറിഡിറ്ററി ആയിട്ട് കിട്ടിയതാണ്.
ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്ന മിക്കവാറും എല്ലാവരും അങ്ങനെ
അപ്പൊ ജോസഫിനെ അത് കാണുന്നില്ല, അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഞാൻ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്
ഡോക്ടർ ഷിബു.
This is Dr. Shibu Rajagopal, next president ആണ്, next president ആണ് from Koilon. നല്ല വക്കീലന്മാരും നല്ല ഡോക്ടർമാരും കഷണ്ടികളാണെന്ന് വക്കീൽ ഇപ്പം പറഞ്ഞു.
അതിന് തിരിച്ച് ഞാൻ വേറൊരു എന്റെ ഇന്റർപ്രിട്ടേഷൻ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്, ഒഫൻഡഡ് ആവരുത്. തലമുടി വളരുന്നത് ബേസിക്കലി അകത്ത് നല്ല ഫലഭൂയിഷ്ടമായ മണ്ണുള്ളപ്പോഴാണ്. നമുക്കൊന്നും അങ്ങനെ മണ്ണില്ല. ഡോക്ടർ ടെറിക്ക് ഒഫൻഡഡ് ആയി, അദ്ദേഹം അവിടെ എന്തോ കമന്റ് പറയും.
ശിവണ്ണൻ അപ്പൊ തന്നെ അടുത്ത ഞങ്ങളുടെ പ്രസിഡന്റ് എലക്ട് അപ്പൊ തന്നെ സന്തോഷത്തോടു കൂടി
പ്രസിഡന്റിനും ഫലഭൂയിഷ്ടമാണ്.
ഫലഭൂയിഷ്ടം അങ്ങേക്കും അതെ.
അതൊക്കെ പ്യുവർ ഹെറിഡിറ്ററി സർ. അതിനെ പറ്റിയിട്ടൊന്നും കൂടുതൽ
Pure habit, തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും.
നമുക്ക് തുടങ്ങിക്കൂടെ എന്നാല്?
പിന്നെ ഈ
ജോസഫ്
ഹെയർ ട്രാൻസ്പ്ലാന്റ് GST വരുന്നുണ്ടോ സാറേ?
ഹെയർ ട്രാൻസ്പ്ലാന്റ്
GST വരുന്നുണ്ടോ?
ഡെഫിനറ്റ്ലി വരുന്നുണ്ട്. അത് കോസ്മെറ്റിക്.
കോസ്മെറ്റിക് അല്ലേ?
കോസ്മെറ്റിക് ആസ്പെക്ടിലാണ്. ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ.
പിന്നെ ഞാനത് ചെയ്യാത്ത എന്താ വെച്ചാൽ ആസ് ഫാർ ആസ് എ ലോയർ ഈസ് കൺസേൺഡ്, ഈ മുടിയുള്ള ലോയർക്ക് കിട്ടുന്ന കാശിനെക്കാട്ടിലും മുടിയില്ലാത്ത ലോയർക്ക് കാശ്
അതെ, ഞങ്ങളെ ഡെന്റിസ്റ്റ് തന്നെയാണ്. നല്ല കഷണ്ടിയൊക്കെ ഉള്ള നല്ല
മൊത്തം മുട്ടയടിച്ചാലോ?
തല പഠിക്കേണ്ടി വരുമോ?
തുടങ്ങാം.
യൂട്യൂബിൽ ലൈവ് ആണേ.
ഓ, അങ്ങനെ ഒരു പ്രശ്നം ഉണ്ടല്ലേ?
ഡോക്ടർ ജോസഫ് CC, പ്രസിഡന്റ് for the presidential remarks, please.
Yes. Good evening, all. Respected Secretary Dr. Deepu, our guest and faculty advocate Harishankar Menon, our President-elect Shibu, our CD Chairman Faisal, CDA Chairman Sushant, Vice Presidents, other members, friends. It has been almost 8 months we are living with this COVID-19. So we are adapting to a new lifestyles of which our generation has never heard of. This organism origins from miles apart and changed our lives drastically. And we are all in an unfortunate situation now. Being dental professionals, we are all at high risk of infectivity since we work in close proximity with our patients. This viral spread has affected our clinical practice to a very large extent. Idea Kerala State has published COVID-19 guidelines for dental treatments. Then we have to pay keen attention to sterilization protocols, infection control, and now many are practicing teledentistry also. So our state and nation, at a large extent, in a rapid fall of economy due to lockdown and other affected problems. So here, goods and service tax, GST, the value added tax for goods and services for domestic consumption. So how this problem affects dentistry? All healthcare services, clinical establishment or medical practitioner are exempted from GST, but cosmetic aspect is not exempted. So let us know more about this GST and its effects in the clinical practice. Let us open up our ears and minds to the wise words of Advocate Harishankar Menon, High Court of Kerala, on GST and dental claims. A hearty welcome to you, sir, to this meeting.
Thank you.
So I would extend hearty welcome to our State Secretary, our President-elect, Vice Presidents, and all the members of Idea Kerala State to this meeting. So let us hear from our Secretary, then we'll start the session. Thank you. Deepu.
Yes. Thank you, President. Respected President, all the dignitaries of Idea Kerala State and our esteemed faculty for today, Advocate Harishankar. This topic here is of special relevance in this age where there are a lot of economic struggles, economic difficulties for the common man. And my point of view is that the government is on a revenue collecting mission and wishes to put as many people under the GST net so that they can increase their revenue. And this is one of the reasons why in preceding weeks, we've seen a large number of squads entering clinics, and there have been many queries raised there. So that has brought forward the relevance of why we should be more aware of the act, what its ramifications are, and what we need to be aware of and to take care so that we do not have to unnecessarily register under that if we are not falling under the ambit of the act. And I'm sure that Advocate Harishankar will throw light on this, and we can all use this opportunity to get knowledge on this side. This is the message that I give everyone here is to listen keenly and to take the instructions from our lawyer here today on as to the way forward. Thank you, Dr. Faisal, and please.
Good evening to all of you. Just introduce Advocate Harishankar Menon. He comes from a family of lawyers. He has joined the firm Adhikat Vijayan Menon Associates in 1996. And he has been offering services in drafting, filing, and pleading appeals for statutory appellate authorities under various tax laws and before the High Court of Kerala. His major clients include Prestige, Rasna, Escorts, Indus Motors, etc., etc. And today he is with us to talk about GST and dental clinics. Over to you, Advocate Harishankar Menon.
Thank you, Dr. Faisal. Good evening to all of you. So basically, I am today invited to address you as regards the implication of GST upon a dentist. So before deliberating on the GST aspect as regards a dentist, I may point out as to the evolution of taxation as regards health service in Kerala as well as in the state of in the nation as a whole. So in 1956, when Kerala came into existence, sales tax was imposed under a specific statute that was known as Travagun Cochin General Sales Tax Act. And thereafter in 1963, that particular act was taken back and it is substituted by Kerala General Sales Tax Act. From 63, that continued all the way till 2005, when value-added tax was introduced in Bloc India, and Kerala value-added tax was introduced as far as the state of Kerala is concerned. So the basic difference as regards imposition of tax under KVAT or the GST, general sales tax prior to that, was that tax was imposed only when a sale or a purchase of a commodity. The term used under the statute was goods. So basically, only when a sale of a commodity or a goods was involved, tax can be imposed by the Commercial Taxes Department. So as regards a dentist or a doctor, to my understanding and knowledge, you are not making any sale of a product. Basically, you are entering into service by treating various patients who are approaching you. So therefore, as regards the activity undertaken by you, there was no supply or a sale of a commodity as such. So much so, sales tax cannot be imposed under the provisions of the erstwhile general sales tax legislations. But even then, somewhere in 1970s, I have read that, come across a judgment in the reported cases. That is one Dr. Paran. I think he is somewhere in Thrissur. He was assessed with respect to the sale of a denture by the Commercial Taxes Department, saying that that is a sale which attracts taxation under the provisions of the sales tax law, which was prevalent then. The matter reached all the way till the High Court. The High Court took the stand that as regards a denture is concerned, that is a custom-made product. So custom-made products, suppose I approach for a denture, that can be used by me alone. It cannot be used by a third party. Therefore, it is a custom-made product which cannot be marketed, and so much so, no tax can be imposed on that particular denture concern. So that judgment rendered by the High Court ruled the field all the way to 2020 when GST came. So till 2020, there was no issue, barring once or twice notices being issued in a random basis by the Commercial Taxes Department. But in 2017, GST was introduced on 1/7/2017. All the VAT legislations en bloc India was withdrawn, and hereafter only GST being implemented. The basic difference with respect to GST is that here, goods as well as service, both are liable to taxation. I may also add somewhere in 1994, service tax was also introduced. That was introduced by the central government. But regarding service tax also, even though you are rendering a service, there was a notification issued by the department saying that suppose it is a healthcare service that is given by a particular individual, then you are not liable to pay taxation. So service tax was also outside the purview as regards the dentist was concerned. But on 1/7/2017, both goods as well as service were brought under taxation under the same umbrella. So thereafter, goods and services tax authorities, I am told that they have been issuing notices saying that a dentist or a dental clinic is not taking out registration. So unless you take out registration as well as satisfy tax, as regards the aggregate receipts made by the dentist, appropriate steps will be taken against them. So first question that I am supposed to answer before you is as to regard whether a dentist is supposed to take out registration under the provisions of the GST laws. I think you might have circulated an opinion which I have given to you. In that opinion, I made specific reference to the provisions of the statute. So statute section 22 provides with respect to registration. That registration provision, that is section 22, it reads, every supplier shall be liable to be registered under the act in the state or a union territory from where he makes a taxable supply. The balance is not relevant. So basically, there are two things to be satisfied. That is, a supplier should be there. Secondly, he should make a taxable supply. So suppose a doctor is making a taxable supply, then he becomes liable to take out registration. Now, in the case of healthcare service, under GST legislation, taxation is basically into various schedules. And healthcare services are classified under a particular heading, that is 9993. And the rate of tax as regards the healthcare service is 9% under the state and 9% under the central, put together 18%. So much so, since it is a taxable activity that is being undertaken by a dentist, there is no doubt that you are supposed to take out registration under the provisions of section 22 or the GST Act. But fortunately for you, that the very next section, that is section 23, takes a different view of the entire thing and say that certain types of dealers, though they may be required to take out registration, they need not take out registration. That particular section, that is section 23, says the following persons shall not be liable to registration, namely, any person engaged exclusively in the business of supplying goods or services, or both, that are not liable to tax or wholly exempt from taxation. So basically, suppose you are engaged in a particular activity which is wholly exempt from taxation or wholly outside the GST scenario, then you need not take out registration, though your activity is a taxable activity under the statute. Now comes the relevance of a notification issue. That is, GST is introduced on 1/7/2017. The government issued two notifications. First notification is 11 of 2017, which prescribed the rate of taxes, that is 9 + 9, 18%. The very next notification, that is 12 of 2017, provided for certain exemptions. That notification, that is to the extent that is relevant for a health practitioner or a doctor or a dentist, under serial number 74, made a specific exemption, that is healthcare services rendered by a clinical establishment, an authorized medical practitioner or paramedic, and services provided by way of transportation of a patient in an ambulance. These two sets of activities are completely exempt from taxation under the provisions of GST laws. So the clause B, that is service of transportation in an ambulance, that may be relevant as regards the dentist is concerned. But clause 1, that is healthcare services by a clinical establishment, an authorized medical practitioner or a paramedic, that in my opinion covers the activities undertaken by a dental clinic. Why so is, the notification speaks about healthcare service. So I pointed out notification number 11 provided for rate of tax specifying that your activity is a healthcare service. That healthcare service in the very subsequent notification says that it is an exempted category. And that exempted category of service, that is healthcare service, can be rendered by either a clinical establishment or an authorized medical practitioner. So in both ways, that you are running a dental clinic, or you can say that I am a registered medical practitioner. In both ways, in my opinion, the activity rendered by a dental clinic or a dentist is totally exempt from taxation. So if it is exempt from taxation, now you fall back upon section 23, which says that if it is an exempted taxation, exempted activity that is being undertaken, you need not have to take out registration under section 22. Therefore, since the activity is exempted, section 23 applies. When section 23 applies, section 22 providing for registration is also not applicable for you. So my answer is that, in my opinion, a dentist is not required to take out registration under the statute. And if he is not required to take out registration under the statute, the question of satisfying the tax thereon also does not arise. But here also there is one problem which may be faced by some of you. That is, the term healthcare service as well as a clinical establishment has been defined under the very same notification 12 of 2017. So clinical establishment, the definition is in your favor, which says that a clinical establishment means a hospital, a nursing home, a clinic, sanatorium, or any other institution by whatever name called that offers services or facilities requiring diagnosis or treatment or care for illness, or the balance may not be relevant. So basically, suppose there is an illness and the person is approaching a clinic or a hospital or a doctor, that becomes a clinical establishment. The activity amounts to some activity undertaken in a clinical establishment and therefore entitled for exemption. But the definition of healthcare service, that is a small hiccup. That says, healthcare services means any service by way of diagnosis or treatment or care for illness, etc., 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 from a clinical establishment, but does not include hair transplant or cosmetic or plastic surgery, except when undertaken to restore or to reconstruct anatomy or functions of body affected due to congenital defects, development abnormalities, injury, or trauma. Therefore, healthcare service, even if your activity is a healthcare service, suppose the exact activity undertaken by the doctor is cosmetic in nature, then you lose the benefit of exemption. So suppose you are undertaking a cosmetic surgery for a particular patient. I don't know what is the nature of cosmetic activity that is being undertaken by a dentist. Suppose there is a cosmetic activity, your activity cannot be considered to be an exempted healthcare service, in which event that particular doctor may be required to take out registration and satisfy tax as regards the receipts made by him only as regards the cosmetic activity undertaken. For example, suppose one question was put to me by Dr. Deepu on an additional, on a latest date. That is, suppose a person or a doctor is receiving, say, 19 lakh from, say, consultation and 1,10,000 towards the cosmetic activities. So question is that 19 plus 1.10 put together, it exceeds the 20 lakh minimum, which is a registrable minimum, that is 20 lakh and 10,000. Therefore, you are supposed to take out registration. But tax satisfaction is only as regards a taxable activity. Healthcare service, that is consultation and treatment, in that 19 lakh is an exempted service. But the receipt of 1,10,000 as regards the cosmetic activity is a taxable transaction, and you are supposed to satisfy 18% tax on that particular amount alone. So cosmetic activities undertaken, you are definitely entitled or supposed to pay tax under the statute. But dangers, in my opinion, the sale of danger, even if it can be said so, or supply of danger, that also is an exempted category. That why so is that healthcare activity is defined to say that a cosmetic or a plastic surgery does not amount to healthcare service except in certain situations. That exception clause specifically says that when it is undertaken to restore or reconstruct an anatomy or a function of a body affected due to so many reasons. So due to an age, advanced age, or after an accident, somebody loses a couple of teeth, so the entire teeth are gone, and you are supposed to reconstruct that or supply a denture. That is only for the purpose of reconstructing the body. Therefore, it is an activity which is entitled for exemption being a healthcare service, and you can claim the benefit of exemption as regards a denture. But cosmetic activities undertaken, you are out. You are supposed to take out registration and satisfy tax. Now, there are some other points which may be helpful for you. That is, sale of medicine. The first question in the first query that was given to me, there was a question posed as regards in certain cases the doctors are effecting sale of medicines in the clinics. So in such situations, whether you are entitled for exemption. Here, suppose you are going to a hospital and being admitted as an inpatient and you are being treated there, and sale of medicines are effected from the inpatient pharmacy, then it amounts to a healthcare service and entitled for complete exemption. But in your case, as regards a dentist, to my understanding, there are no inpatients and somebody is approaching a dentist only for the purpose of getting a treatment. And after the treatment, straight away, he's coming out of the dental clinic and only certain medicines are being purchased from the dentist. That cannot be said to be an exempted category or exempted service or exempted supply, because there are two sets of transactions. One is supply of service of treatment, and the other is supply of sale of medicines, which is an independent activity altogether. And in such situations, that sale of medicine is a taxable activity undertaken by the dentist. So in such a situation also, tax is to be satisfied by the dentist. Now, certain questions were put to me, that is the aggregate turnover of 20 lakhs and how a bill is to be generated by a dentist. That question of aggregate turnover of 20 lakhs, as I already pointed out, the question of considering that 20 lakh itself arises only if you decide to take out registration. Suppose you safely came to the conclusion that I am not liable to tax, I need not take out registration, then the question of that aggregate amount of 20 lakhs is fading out of the picture. So only in a situation where you have a feeling that you should take out registration, since exempted categories are not undertaken or taxable categories are also being undertaken, that is cosmetic categories are being undertaken by you, then alone the relevance of 20 lakh arises. So in such situations, you have to include the exempted sales or exempted receipts as well as the taxable receipts. And if it is about 20 lakhs, you should take out registration, but liability is only on the amount of taxable receipts. Now, regarding bills, what I would say is that suppose an invoice is being raised by a doctor, it is better to say that it is specifically as regards a service of treatment. So you can say that treatment charges or healthcare charges received for consultation with respect to a particular aspect. Don't make any mention as regards supply of any sort of commodity from the clinic to the patient concerned. Suppose it is pure supply of service in the invoice, the GST department cannot come behind you. Then I'm also told that in certain cases, name boards are being displayed by the dental clinics, in which name boards, apart from the specific activities, you also make mention about the cosmetic nature of the treatment that are available in the clinic. In such situations, basically, I feel that you are basically inviting trouble from the GST department, because from the name board itself, they can come to the conclusion that cosmetic activities are undertaken by you, and therefore there is a taxable activity undertaken by the clinic. You are not taken out registration, so they can proceed against you. So it is better for the doctor to remove the cosmetic activity that is being displayed in the name board. Now, coming to the steps that may be taken by the GST department. GST department, they can take steps against you in two manners. First one, they can issue a summons directing you to appear before them with the books of accounts, that is your receipts, bank accounts, and all such details. Suppose such a summons is issued by the GST department, you can address them saying that, to my idea and understanding, under the GST scenario or under the GST Act, my activity is completely exempt from taxation, in which event I need not have to take out registration or to pay tax under the portions of GST law. And so much so, since I am outside the purview of GST, the question of producing the books of accounts or the bank details does not arise. You can give such a letter, or in the alternative, you can just give a call to him, say that this is the actual reality. I am also ready to produce the documents before you, but if you are ready and willing to accept that, let us stop it there. That is one step which can be taken. The second or the more drastic step is the personal visit that is being undertaken by the department. I am told by Dr. Dibet that some doctors have been now visited by the GST department, and they are asking for production of various documents, including the bank accounts and the accounts maintained in the clinic. In such a situation also, suppose they are coming there and saying that you are supposed to produce the documents. It is, in my opinion, don't go for a confrontation. You can produce the documents provided there is no mention about any cosmetic activity undertaken by the clinic in the books of accounts. Bank accounts will only make reference to the total receipts or the total credits made in the bank. The entries in the bank passbook or the bank accounts will not make any reference to the nature of the activity. Nature of the activities with reference to the invoices that are being raised, as well as the books of accounts that are being maintained. So on the basis of the books of accounts and the invoices, if we can safely say that there is no taxable activity undertaken, no problem in producing the documents before them. Suppose I say that we are ceasing then that documents also, don't go for a confrontation, only insist that you be given a receipt for the entire documents taken by them. If it is taken by them, you can thereafter file a specific letter before the office saying that my books of accounts are taken by you. This is the nature of the activity, which is clear from the books of accounts. Kindly record the entire proceedings as closed and give it back. I feel that most cases, if such a proper reply is given to the department, they will accept it and they have to give the documents back to you. Now, there are some other questions. That is, one question was put by one doctor that he is intending to make a purchase of some, say, capital equipment, and whether input tax can be claimed by the doctor. Yes, input tax can be claimed by a registered person. So first of all, you have to take out registration for claiming input tax credit. But input tax is not eligible as regards a person who is engaged in supplying exempted category services. So for example, say, assume that I am the doctor. I make a purchase of a dental chair for say 1 lakh rupee, when the tax component is at 10,000 rupees. You are right in saying that to the extent of that 10,000 rupees, I am entitled for input tax credit, which can be set off against the output tax liability. That is, suppose I am having a taxable transaction, that 10,000 can be set off against the tax which I am supposed to pay. Say, for example, 1 lakh I make a purchase, 10,000 is my input tax credit. My total sale is for 2 lakh and my output tax liability is 20,000. From that 20,000, that 10,000 can be reduced and the balance 10 alone need be satisfied by you. But since you are engaged in an exempted category service, you are not eligible for taking the benefit of input credit. So I feel that there is no fancy in getting a registration because you will not be eligible for any input tax credit. Now, one doctor has also put a question as regards the total receipts in excess of 1 crore. And he has said that around 24 lakh is a taxable transaction, making reference to the books of accounts as audited under the provisions of the Income Tax Act. So there the difference is that under the provisions of Income Tax Act, say I am getting 1 crore as my total receipts or total income. Taxable income you are entitled for deductions. So that deductions you are taking and saying that my total aggregate taxable receipts is 24 lakhs or odd like that. But under GST, there is no deductions possible. On the entire aggregate amount that is received by you, you are supposed to pay tax. So that question may not be fully correct. My only opinion is that even if it is 1 crore that is received by you, or 2 crore or 10 crore, suppose the activity is a healthcare service, there is no cosmetic activity undertaken by you, the liability is zero, there is no requirement for taking out registration. And Dr. Deepu has asked me to address as regards the procedure to be followed by a doctor upon taking out registration. Suppose you go for a registration, the difficulty is that every month you are supposed to file returns under the statute. So even if you take out registration and maintain that the activity is an exempted category service, since you have a registration, you are supposed to file a nil return. So when for every month you should go on filing a return. So what I feel is that suppose you don't have a taxable activity, there is no purpose in taking out registration and going on filing returns. And one doctor has also put a question as regards cancellation on a later date, suppose the registration is taken. It is possible. Suppose today I take out a registration as a doctor on the understanding that I am liable to pay tax. But later I am being advised that I need not pay tax because my activity is an exempted category service. In which event I can put up an application before the concerned department, that is, your registration will be either under the State Act or under the Central Act. Before your registering authority, online you can put up an application saying that I don't require a registration, kindly deregister me. Suppose such an application is filed, definitely that has to be accepted by the department and you can be deregistered also. So I feel that almost all points which you have put across to me have been answered. And if you require any further clarifications from me, or if you feel that certain points are not addressed by me, you can point out.
Thank you, sir, for a nice explanation about the GST. We have some questions coming up. One question which I received just now is about the dental labs which are making dentures, etc., are taking GST charges for fabrication of the dentures. Right. Is it legal for them to collect the GST?
Definitely. I think I have already answered that in the letter which I have given to you. The second letter which I have given to you, I made a specific answer. That is, there are two sets of transactions. That is, first one, the person who is making the denture. So it is a totally different industry who is making the denture. And denture is being purchased by the dentist, subject to correction. So the first transaction is effected by the denture manufacturer, and there is a supply of a denture from Mr. X to Mr. Y, the doctor. So it is a supply of a particular commodity, that is supply of goods upon which GST can be collected. But on the subsequent treatment that is undertaken by Dr. Y upon a patient, as in the earlier case I have already pointed out, it is a healthcare service which is exempted and there is no liability. But sale by the dental manufacturer, the denture manufacturer to the doctor, they are supposed to collect tax. And you are entitled for input credit also, provided it was a taxable activity. Since it is a non-taxable activity, you are not entitled for input credit.
Regarding that 20 lakhs, the turnover or the profit?
Turnover. That is, I pointed out, income tax alone is the question of profit arises. Income tax, say suppose I am having 10 rupee as a total receipts. I am supposed to satisfy tax only on the net taxable profit alone. So profit can be arrived at after making deductions. But under GST as well as the earlier sales tax, it is not on the profit. It is on the total amount. But under GST, the difficulty, you may be correct in saying that it is on profit because, say, as I pointed out, say I make a purchase of a commodity for 1 lakh rupee after paying 10,000 rupee as tax. Thereafter, I am making a sale of that particular commodity for 2 lakh rupee and the tax liability is 10,000 rupees. But I am entitled for input credit as regards that 10,000 rupees tax is satisfied upon purchase of the commodity. So much so, to that extent, you will be justified in saying that it is a profit. But in reality, it is not profit. You are supposed to pay tax on the aggregate amount that you are getting from the customer. You are given a benefit by claiming the benefit of input tax credit. So it is not.
So that depends on all the materials we buy also from the.
Absolutely. But ultimately, it should be a taxable transaction. It is a non-taxable transaction that 20 lakh fades into insignificance. Then.
Or if I have multiple clinics, 3-4 clinics, should we separately or under one heading?
Multiple clinics, you can have one registration provided before the registering authority, you point out that I'm having multiple places of business. So in the registration certificates, they can say that address A is the principal place of business, B, C, and D are additional places of business. That has to be entered in the registration certificate. That way it can be taken care of. Any number of business places. But difficulty is that suppose you are having a business place outside the state of Kerala, there is a small difference. Suppose you are having a place outside Kerala and you have a registration in the state of Kerala, that business outside Kerala is not covered by the Kerala Act. Suppose you have a business at, say, Chennai. Under the Chennai Act, you should take out a registration. Kerala registration cannot cover the Chennai business. But any number of business in the state of Kerala is covered.
Any members here, do you have any questions? Dr. Deepu?
It's not audible. It's not audible.
No, I guess the take-home message.
Is there any chat in there?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah.
So I guess the take-home message is that we safely fall under the healthcare, the ambit of the healthcare category, and whatever your turnover is, you do not need to register for GST unless and if only you are not conducting any cosmetic treatments here. There is a concept among the GST authorities that orthodontic treatment, that is the alignment of irregular teeth, is cosmetic in nature. So we are of the premise that this is something, it is a birth defect, and we are correcting it to improve the function and the vitality of the person. And so it is not a cosmetic correction. So that is an area of what do you call, difference of opinion between the GST authorities and our profession. So I hope that we can always claim that we're not doing cosmetic treatment by in terms of orthodontic treatment. We're just doing mere functional rearrangement of teeth to help the individual to have a better life, and not purely cosmetic in nature. That is one way. I think I'm correct in that, sir.
You are correct. Suppose you said basically it is a birth deformity that is being corrected by. Such cases are specifically covered by the definition of healthcare services. I have already read that. Healthcare service, there is an exemption which says that except does not cover cosmetic surgery. That cosmetic activity is even having another exception. It says that cosmetic or plastic surgery, except when undertaken to restore or reconstruct anatomy or functions of body affected due to congenital defects. So I don't know whether this can be called as a congenital defect. Suppose you can safely say on the basis of medical literature that this is a congenital defect that is being corrected by the dentist.
Not exactly congenital defect, but hereditary in nature. Most of it.
Hereditary in nature. It covers either congenital defects, developmental abnormality, injury or trauma. Injury and trauma is straight away you can rule it out. Whether it can be called as a development abnormality.
It is a developmental.
Yes, it can be called that.
If that be the case, definitely that orthodontic activity undertaken by the dentist also entitled for complete exemption. If you can supply me with say medical literature on this aspect, I can go through that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll do that.
I have one question.
Yes.
Basically, you said that the sale